This area was not called Ronkonkoma. There was actually no town of Ronkonkoma till around the turn of the century. It used to be called, you either lived in Lakeland or you lived in Lake Grove. And the only thing that was actually called Ronkonkoma was the lake itself. And that started changing around the turn of the century. In 1884, the Ronkonkoma station was built. And when they built that, they actually called that station Ronkonkoma. And then a few years later, the first post office for our area opened, and it was called Ronkonkoma. So that started the area being known as the town being called Ronkonkoma. Then in the early 1900s, as real estate companies came in and started marketing their areas, they would build little summer cottages and want to sell them to New York City people to vacation out here, they started naming the different areas. So you got a little neighborhood called Ronkonkoma Heights, Lake Ronkonkoma, Ronkonkoma Hills. And these were names that were actually made up by the real estate companies to market their land, but all the names kind of stuck, and that's how the names of all the little areas of Ronkonkoma have become known as what they are. The original Ronkonkoma Fire Department truck was, of course, a horse and buggy wagon that was kept in one of the people's yards, and they kept it in their barn. So on the corner of Portion Road, they took an old locomotive tire, which was a steel wheel, and hung it on the corner of Portion Road in Hawkins, and that was the original fire bell. And someone would go over when there was a fire and bang on that bell with a hammer, and that would alert the whole town that there was a fire. And the original fire bell still exists today. It's built into the sign that's on the front lawn of the Ronkonkoma Fire Department on Portion Road. And our most famous Ronkonkoma resident was probably Maud Adams, the famous Broadway actress. Most people might know Maud as the person who originally played Peter Pan. In fact, James Barrie, who wrote Peter Pan, wrote the play for Maud Adams to play a part in it. Maud was originally supposed to be Wendy in the play, but she insisted that Peter Pan was the more fun part to play, so she got the role of Peter Pan. And ever since that time, Peter Pan has always been played by a female. And she moved out here, bought a 700-acre farm, and spent the rest of her life living out here, and she loved the town. Ronkonkoma has a great tradition of baseball. At the end of the 1800s, everyone who was interested in baseball became part of the general baseball league that existed in New Jersey, New York, and Long Island. And there was about 20 teams, and they would play a whole season, just like the major league players were doing at that time. And Ronkonkoma had 3 different teams, and we had the Ronkonkoma baseball team, and these were serious baseball players, and they played for a trophy, and they traveled really far to play baseball games. Our most famous person who played for Ronkonkoma was Carl Yastrzemski, the famous Boston Red Sox player. 2 years before he became a Boston Red Sox, him and his father Frank played for the Ronkonkoma Cardinals in Ronkonkoma. Of course, it all is Lake Ronkonkoma, zip code 11779.